All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Amsterdam Talk, Season 4, Episode 19. Tonight, we have a very special guest. We have Carrie, Mom's Day Prepper, in the building tonight.
Hi, y'all.
So, before we get started, tell us about yourself.
Well, I am a sixth generation Texan and mother of six kiddos. I'm here down in Texas, and I am a survivor of not one, not two, but four Mom's Day moments. So, Mom's Day moments is a term that I coined because of this crazy, life that I've been living for a while. And there are these doomsday attacks that
Hmm.
land in the middle of our motherhood, right? So
Hmm.
I started, coming up with this term and then strategies to prepare for these Mom's Day moments. And they're pretty hard. They're tough. They're not easy topics to talk about. And I wanted to add a little bit of humor into it. So I brought in the prepper part, the doomsday, that kind of community into this because it really is a doomsday moment when these things happen.
Okay. So, that's what we wanted to get to, how you got there, because you said your son was 7, he got hit by a truck.
Yes. So, spring break of 2023, my motherhood hit rock bottom. And it really began March 15th of 2015 when my fourth baby, Super
Hmm.
G, was diagnosed with cancer. So he was diagnosed with a cancer called neuroblastoma, which is a tumor cancer, and it is one of the nastiest cancers for childhood cancer. It's a very mean, very angry cancer. Once we got through that and we pulled ourselves up by our bootstraps, we got hit with the biggest jerk face I've ever met called Hurricane Harvey. Now,
Okay.
we're on the Gulf Coast, so we're used to rain there in the Houston area. We're used to hurricanes, and this guy dumped 51 inches on us in 2 days. It was really astronomical. And so I was 37 weeks pregnant with our sixth child
Okay.
when this happened, and it, decimated our home.
Hmm.
So now we have no home. I'm about to have my sixth baby, and we got to figure this out. That was Mom's Day moment number two. Mom's Day moment number three was in 2019 when, after a very long road of doctor's appointments and research and, driving ourselves crazy, my husband was officially diagnosed with anorexia, which is a food
Mm.
addiction, and it's very insidious and it's very quiet and it's unpredictable, especially in men. So, being a stay at home mom, a single income family, that was huge because he had to get better. Which leads me to spring break of 2023. And my 7-year-old son, number five, he's number five in the birth order, was hit by a 1-ton truck while we were
Mm.
on vacation in Alabama. He
Wow.
was critically injured. And I hit rock bottom, Rod. I hit rock bottom. I just could not believe in that moment, like, I literally and figuratively lost. Can I cuss? I don't know if I
Go
can
ahead.
cuss.
Go ahead.
I literally and figuratively lost my shit. I mean, it
Mm.
was bad. It was so bad. Your baby's in the ditch and bleeding, and you've gone through all these things leading up to this. Throw COVID in there, right?
Hmm.
Throw, upheaval with all of that 2020 crap that happened. And I just thought, I cannot be the only mom out there. I cannot be the only person out there in the world that this is happening to. And
Right.
turns out I'm not. Turns out, unfortunately, in this broken world, I am not the only one. And it was on my heart to begin writing a book, which I did, and start a podcast, which I did. And
Hmm.
the floodgates opened, and I launched everything in 2020, January of 24, and it's blowing my mind. Rod is blowing my mind how many people are just listening to the podcast, who are contacting me, who are, you know, we need a space as mothers and as parents. It's not just mothers, dads
Right.
go through these too. And when these crises and these traumas and these doomsday moments happen, like your child is being diagnosed with cancer, there's a lot of like big emotion attached to that, and there's really not an outlet for you to go to. And I
Correct.
know, I looked. I mean, I searched the World Wide Web. Like, it's not there. So,
Mm,
that's kind of the Mom's Day prepper part in my personal story with all of these, and, it was very hard. I always forget to preface this, all my children are alive. They're very
okay.
happy, they're very healthy.
Well, that was my
Uh,
next question. I was going to say, the one that was diagnosed with cancer and the one that got
yeah.
hit by a truck, two out of the six. How are
Yes.
they now?
They're doing very, very well. They're fine. They actually just went to summer camp down here in Texas for 2 weeks, and were running around and playing in the river, and riding horses and all the things. And uh, my oldest daughter was diagnosed with complex PTSD
Hmm.
after the car accident, the pedestrian accident. That was very difficult. So while I was getting Hank back to where he needed to be, I was also, trying to keep my daughter alive, to be frank. So, and she's doing so much better, and my husband's doing better. So it does, there are these, what I call, beauty in the ashes moments.
Okay.
And once the house has burned down around you and you're
Hmm.
able to step through it, you can look back and you can see new growth coming up from these ashes.
Okay.
And I just encourage moms, when I talk to them who are in the midst of it, to just feel it and then wait, because you will see beautiful moments come through these terribly tragic, things that happen to us.
So, so you coined the term, Mom's Day moments. So, like, how do you prep yourself when it happens? Like, what do you do to prep yourself?
Yeah, that's the scary part, right? So if you know anything about the doomsday prepper community,
Hmm.
it's kind of a spectrum, right? You've got, everybody's a prepper. Everybody has insurance. Okay. If you
Correct.
carry insurance, you're a prepper. And then you have people who are a little more on the extreme side, and they're kind of wearing the tinfoil hats. It doesn't matter. All of the things that we're prepping for in everyday life is unpredictable things, right? That's why it's a doomsday. We cannot predict when an asteroid is going to hit the earth. We cannot predict when our child gets diagnosed with cancer. It is an unpredictable thing that we're preparing for. So, how do you prepare for the unpredictable for your parenthood, for your children?
Hmm.
I can only tell you what has worked for us, what did work for us, and what I learned from the beginning. So, the number one prep that you need is spirituality.
Okay.
Now, I'm a Christian. I love the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, but that doesn't matter when you're on the oncology floor. It doesn't matter if your kid has cancer. We
Right.
were on the pediatric oncology floor, and it was amazing, Rod. I could tell you which families had a belief system of some kind. If it was Islam, if it was Hindu, if it was whatever, if it was Christian, whatever, it didn't matter. The ones that didn't, their children were sicker, the parents were falling
Hmm.
apart, they were walking around like zombies. And the ones that had a belief system,
Mm.
those were the ones that got through it easier. They were the ones that had hope to hold on to, because they were reaching into the spiritual realm for that hope. So I always say, I'm going
Okay.
to love you where you are. I'm going to meet you where you are. But spirituality is something that you have got to start looking into. And that is a hard thing. I recognize that the American church is not great. There's a lot of spiritual abuse in churches, and there's a lot of cults, and a lot of people have bad experiences with that. And I get that. But I just really encourage moms to push through that. The second prep that is so important is community. You have got to start putting a community around you in your life.
Right.
And this is for everybody, but especially for moms. Okay. For the 10 months that my son was in treatment, I did not make one meal. I did not
Hmm.
go to the grocery store one time. The same with Harvey. For like 4 months, we had people bringing us food.
Right.
We had, and, same with when my son was hit by the car. We had all these wonderful things happening. And it was because we built a community. We had a community in place who could support us through this. Parallel to that, I've seen families fall apart. They don't have people helping them. We have a lot of people come a lot of parents whose child is diagnosed in Canada will come to America for treatment because they don't have a
Hmm.
lot of options in Canada. It's free, but they don't get to choose how they treat their
Right.
kid. America, we have options, right?
Right.
So when they get here, guess what? They don't have a
Hmm.
community. They don't have anybody here. And it is really, really
Everybody's back
hard.
across the border.
Everybody's home. Yeah. I mean, really all over the world, they come to America for pediatric oncology. But number three is finances. And I know that's never fun to talk about. I'm a Dave Ramsey girl myself. But, if you are living paycheck to paycheck and your child gets hit by a
Hmm.
car and your home is devastated by a hurricane, there is not an amount of money that you will not pay to save your child's life. You're going to do whatever it takes, but
Right.
if you can't pay the light bill, if you can't buy groceries, so those finances are important.
Hmm.
Excuse me. um, I'll tell you a quick story about one of my guests. I always tell people Super G's my $1 million baby, but Tank, the child that got hit by the car, is the one that's probably going to sink us financially because it was immediate cash, like an immediate cash drop, whereas childhood cancer kind of
Right.
bleeds you financially. But one of my hosts came on,
Hmm.
and
Right.
her name is Martin, and her son was Dino Jake. And I always speak the names of
Hmm.
children we've lost. It's important to the moms. So they were in a position where Obamacare had just come out and they had a large family. And so her and
Hmm.
her husband decided to leave the insurance that was provided by her husband's family and sign up for Obamacare because it would be cheaper. Well, there was a 6-month waiting period
Hmm.
in between this. And guess what happened in that 6 months? Dino Jake was
He
diagnosed.
got
And
sick.
within 2 weeks, they were $1.6 million in medical bills. $1.6
Wow.
million in 2 weeks. And they were a family of
Wow.
8. I mean, it's mind-boggling how much money the cancer industry, and I call it an industry because that's what it is, how much it makes. So finances are so
Well,
important. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just saying finances
No,
are
I'm saying
so
you go ahead. I'll
important.
tell my story after that. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you got that's a little
Well,
tinfoil
yeah,
hat that I wear when I talk about
yeah.
cancer industry.
No, I mean it doesn't bother me because I worked for Human Health for Maryland for 12 years. So I worked for them, Human Services. So I understand these bills that we actually see. And you come to a government agency to ask these bills to be paid. And everybody always used to ask me, like, well, we gotta have this type of money for to get this type equal this type of bill to get the state to help us pay for it. And they used to always ask me, well, what can you do? I said, you got the first choice you can do is call an ambulance because that's an $800 ride
Mhm,
automatically in an ambulance. And if you stay a night, it's going to cover whatever bills you pay. Because if you don't have any insurance, one thing I learned just being in this field, you don't have any insurance, they're going to get you right out of there. They're going to get you out as
mhm,
fast as they can. Patch you up a
mhm,
little bit, get you out because they feel like they may not ever receive that money, and somebody else that's coming in, they're going to receive that type of money. So, being 1.6 million in 2 weeks, that's crazy. But again, it's a lawsuit if you try to patch him up really quick to put him out. As a person who
mhm,
was diagnosed with asthma as a child, they're going to give, if I have no insurance, they're going to give me two nebulizers and send me home. That's
mhm,
plain and simple. And saying,
mhm.
hopefully, nothing happens to him when he come home, goes home. But if I got to come back, I got to come back. But yeah, it's a $1 billion industry, which you just brought up. It's a very large industry.
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is.
And
It is.
and it's crazy, like you said. The money's on the comeback, as far as like having to get these treatments, having to get these medicines.
Mhm,
You figure if you cure it, you're gonna lose $1 billion. I mean, they're still looking back at polio. You cured polio, so like one of the major disease back in the day. But you have this cancer thing, like you said, it's just gonna bleed you dry because radiation, chemo, whatever you
mhm.
got to do, whether you taking a surgery for whatever type of cancer you got, and you got to take these medicines. You got to keep coming back and coming back and coming back and coming back and coming back. And what they're seeing is that's what they're seeing.
Yep. Yeah.
The
Yeah,
the
it is,
the
and you're in a
basically
tough
what I'm saying
spot.
is the money is on the re-up. Go ahead,
Yes. Yeah, no,
you got
and
it.
then you're in a tough spot too because when it's your child, If you get cancer as an adult, you have a different autonomy, right? You have more choices. You can choose to, go the holistic
Hmm.
route, or go down to Mexico, or, do the treatments, or, fight until your last breath or whatever. But with childhood cancer, it's different. You don't have a lot of choices because, first of all, they only get 4% of the federal funding for research. So we're grossly under researched. And then secondly, we're grossly underrepresented in
Mm.
hospitals. So a lot of these children are having to drive 4, 6, 8 hours to the nearest, place that they have to go. And then once they're in the system, the parents have no choice because the essentially the doctors own that child. And if you try to fight the doctors, you are threatened with CPS. You are threatened with your child being taken away. Even if you're saying, "Hey, I want to treat my child. I just am wondering if this treatment over here is better." Like, you don't have those choices with childhood cancer, and it really does become a game of power at some point. It never was with our family. I'm very grateful for the treatments that we got, but I we're 9 years cancer free, so I'm 9 years out of hearing a lot of other stories from a lot of other moms and being highly involved in the childhood cancer community. And it can get very scary. So, that's when I put the tinfoil hat on. But a lot of people will put blinders on because they don't want to see it. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to know about it, because it's scary, right? It's just scary. It's terrifying because then they think, well, that could be my child.
Right.
Right. And it can be, quite frankly, it can be your
Right.
child. There's a busload of children being diagnosed every single day. That's how rare, air quotes, childhood cancer is. It's not rare. And
Hmm.
so you got to be prepared for, your
And
finances, your community, your spirituality. You've got to have that in place because you will sink. Your ship will sink when something catastrophic like that happens. Even Harvey, when our home was flooded, I lost everything. I had no baby stuff. Everything was gone. And I had a 2-year
mm,
old, a 3-year old, a 5-year-old, 8 and 11-year old, and 2 dogs, and a husband who was battling
mm,
anorexia at the time. We didn't know it, but that's what was going on.
wow.
And it was like, you know, if we did not have flood insurance, if we were not debt free, if we were not surrounded by community, there were people that it took 2 years to rebuild their house after Harvey. It was astronomical. So we were financially prepared for Harvey. Not so much for some of the other things, but Harvey we were good on. I will say the fourth prep that I really push here, Rod, is memories. I I remember
Hmm.
the first weekend at Texas Children's Hospital where we were, which is a fantastic hospital. And I was holding my 9-month-old baby, and I was pregnant with my fifth child, and I was crying because I never got the infant photos. So, it was real popular, and it's still popular to take like infant photos, professional photos, or whatever. Well, when I had my first kid, I was poor. I couldn't afford that. I was like, I'm not going to Ann Getty this up, but whatever. We'll get pictures whenever we can. And it kind of stuck with number two, number three, and then number four. I just never got them. I thought, what a wasted expense. I'm not going to do that. But the doctors are telling me this child's not going to see his first birthday. And all I can think is, I will never have
Mm,
those pictures. I will never get this back. I will never get these 9 months back ever. And then he's going to die and he's going to be gone. That's not how it worked out. So it's okay. So I always say memories are so important. And I am not talking about Disneyland and Disney World memories. I'm talking about go to the park
right.
for the whole day. Make the first Saturday of every month family fun day and let the kids choose what they want to do that day and go do it. Make a yes day. You know that movie that came out? It was based on a book called Yes Day with Jennifer Gardner, and the parents had to say yes to every request, no matter what it was. Like ice cream for breakfast, yes, because that's what you're going to remember, and your kids deserve those memories too. You
You
know.
can't do that. You can't say yes to everything.
Well, yeah, there's extremes. Yes,
Right.
I haven't won the lottery,
Right.
so we can't say yes to everything, no. But, it's making those memories is what will
Mm,
sustain you through
can't
an
say yes
atomic
to
bomb.
everything.
You say yes to everything, is that what you said?
Mm.
Okay, number 5,
No, no, no. You can't say yes to everything. But another thing,
yeah.
I'm going to reach back to something you. now I wanted to reach back to something you had said about going 6, 7, 8 hours to a hospital.
Mhm.
That you got to real people also got to you got to look out for yourself as well, because your finances is that, because I'm going 68 hours. I may have to. I don't know how long I'm going to be here. I may have to,
Yeah.
be in a hotel or get in an apartment. That's
Mhm.
another thing you got to deal with. But moment
Yep.
number five.
Yeah, no, I'm glad I could talk childhood cancer this whole episode. I really could because you're right. Families are forced. They're usually two income families, right? Because that's kind of the society that we have. We have to have two incomes just to survive. What will happen most of the time is that one of the parents will have to quit their jobs to take care of the child full time. So now they've gone down to a one income family, or one of their parents will choose to quit their job so they can qualify for Medicare to pay for the child's treatment because they can't afford it otherwise. Either way, they're losing money and they can't afford the hotels and they can't
Right.
afford the gas. I don't know how much gas is in your neck of the woods, but it's expensive, right? It's a travesty. I mean, anyways.
Premium is 4.9. Premium is 4.39.
Ugh, oh, ours is
Premium is
290 right
4.39.
now. Yeah. We're usually a little cheaper in Texas, but yeah,
Mm,
it's bad. I mean, it stacks up. It really does. Okay, number 5, I'm gonna go to healing because this one's my favorite one to talk about. There is
mm-hmm.
there is healing that I think everyone can do. Healing from old wounds, healing from current
Right.
situations. When you when you go through a traumatic experience, and I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Vanderkolk, who wrote The Body Keeps the Score. I highly, highly recommend this book.
No.
When you go through a trauma, your brain will literally fracture, for lack of a better word. Like it will literally the neural pathways don't connect anymore. Your memories are screwed. Like it's just a mess when you go through a trauma. Okay. And if it's a severe trauma, that is where PTSD comes in. And you have to heal in order to care for yourself, in
Mm,
order to care for your child. There is so much healing that can be done, I think, before motherhood, but when you don't know, you don't know. But after a traumatic event, after watching your child fight for his life, after a natural disaster, after an addiction, a spousal addiction, what I found in my healing journey was something that I think is voodoo magic, and it's called EMDR. And
mhm,
also somatic work in the body, somatic yoga, trauma processing therapy. CBT therapy is like the go-to, which is kind of like talk therapy. You talk it out. I do not recommend or agree with that for anyone who's experienced a trauma. It just doesn't work. You're just re-traumatizing yourself every time you talk about it, unless you're actually doing the work and you're going through the work. So healing is a really big deal, and I workshop this. I do speaking engagements and I do workshops with moms and moms groups. And healing is the one that they get hung up on the most because it's hardest. No one
mhm.
wants to talk about money because it's icky, but the healing is really hard and people don't want to face the wounds, right? Remember when you were a kid and you're riding your bike or you're running down the street and you fall and you scrape up your knee and it hurts and you don't
Mhm.
want anyone to touch it? You're like, no, don't touch it. And mom or dad's like, but I got to
Right.
clean it out and we got to put a band aid on. They're like, no, no, don't touch it. It's going to hurt so bad. That's kind of how in our soul, when we experience a trauma, our mind is saying, no, don't touch it. It hurts. But what happens when you clean it out and you put the band aid on it and you let it heal? It gets better. It gets better. So
Mm,
it's scary as hell, but it's not it is absolutely essential to moving on and preparing for others. And I'll tell you, I did a lot of EMDR on childhood cancer
mhm.
before the other Mom's Day moments fell in my lap, and I credit that for being able to get through it and not
All right.
completely lose my mental faculties. I came close when I saw my son get hit by a truck. That was pretty that was pretty god awful. Okay, my last prep is awareness. Awareness is a two-parter.
Mm,
Self-awareness, like how you react. What is your trauma response? Are you fight, flight? Are you fawn? Are you freeze? Like, how do you respond to crisis situations? Okay, if someone came to you and you
correct.
know whatever, you have your spouse and they're like, well, this is what's really going on. It's a anorexia, and you're like, whoa, you know, that's a huge like whiplash moment, right? How do you respond to that? So understanding self-awareness. The second one is
Hmm.
worldly awareness. Now, how do you learn about the world? Well, you know, we have technology in our pockets, but you have to really be careful about the sources you go to. And one of the things I wanted to focus on this year was fentanyl and the fentanyl crisis. I didn't really know anything about fentanyl other than it was like out there in the world and the word was used every once in a while in the news, right? Then I started the podcast and I met moms whose children accidentally took it. And they didn't know anything about fentanyl either.
Hmm.
Now they do because their children are 6 feet in the ground and they know about Narcan and they know about and they're on a mission, right? So awareness for me, and one of the biggest things for starting the podcast is bringing awareness out. You know, it's like this stuff is happening in our world right now. Like right now, I'm having a lady
Hmm.
on who was human trafficked. When she was 13, she was trafficked by a family member. Okay, this wasn't some, you know, ghost in another country that took her. It was a family member. And she's now gone through it
Hmm.
and she's older and she's a mom and stuff. So those are the preps, those are the strategies that I've come up with to just prepare yourself for, I always say when it happens, not if it happens, because we do live in this very polarized, broken world, uh, and you know, it's inevitable. We can't escape evil when evil's all around us. We just have to prepare for it.
Correct. So now I want to ask you this: these Mom's Day moments, I know they differ now from they were children. Now you got teenagers.
Hmm.
So do they differ?
I don't think it necessarily matters about the child's age because to a mom, your child is, well, actually, on a molecular level, you are tied to your children. Spiritually, you are tied to your children.
Hmm.
That's been scientifically proven. So, you know, even if my child is 46 years old and and I'm 60, what will I be? Oh my God, 70 years old. If something happens to him, it's going to be the same pain, I
Hmm.
think. So what I've experienced, like I had a mom who lost her son, he was 14. And I had another mom lose her daughter at 21. The
Mm,
pain the pain is still the same.
mm,
Okay, the way they dealt with that pain is very different,
right.
but the pain is the same. I had another mom who lost a baby at birth. You know, the pain is immense, but
Mm.
you know, the way they deal with it is different. So I don't know. That's a really good question and something to just kind of ruminate about because to me, I don't think it matters the age of the child. The you know, a 2-year-old isn't gonna take fentanyl accidentally, right? So the doomsday moment, the mom's day moment itself is gonna be different, you
Yeah.
know? So,
So, well, since it doesn't matter with age, does the mom moments different through versus boys versus girls?
that would be a good question to ask, like a polling question for a lot of moms. I don't think so. I have 3 boys and 3 girls, and, you know, we parent our daughters differently than we parent our sons, right? Like, our sons are rough and tough and they have a little more liberty when we're here at the ranch. They can go out and explore and, you know, they have a little more liberty, right? But our daughters, we kind of keep them a little closer
Hmm.
to the house. We're a little more protective. So we just parent boys and girls differently. Um, but I don't think gender, again, I don't think it plays a role.
Okay. Okay. So, what if, well, your mother 6? what
Mhm.
advice would you give to a new mother?
Oh, you have got to lean into your mommy feelers. So we call them mommy feelers down here in the South. I don't insects, have the antenna that come up, and those antenna are constantly moving, looking for changes in the weather
Mhm.
or whatever. Well, we call them in the South.
Mhm.
We call the bug antenna. We call them feelers. That's the bug's feelers. So I call them mommy feelers. They're your mommy instincts,
Okay.
your sixth sense, your intuition. You have been given this
Spider
God-given,
sense.
yeah, your spidey sense. Yes, and that's a gift. That's a gift, Rod. It's a gift that you receive when you
Right.
have this child. You grow this child, you birth this child, and we are throwing this gift out the window. And we're on blogs, and we're on social media, and we're on mommy books, and we're looking at the pamphlets in the pediatrician's office, and we're listening to all the professionals, right? And we're not listening to our mommy feelers. and
Mhm.
and I tell every new mom, you have got to
Right.
quiet the noise and listen to your instincts. You know your baby. You know your child. No matter what age your child is, you know your child. And you have to listen to that.
Right.
Good question.
I totally get it. I heard it last week at the cookout. I know my child, and I'm 42. And my mother was talking, and she was like, I know you." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. And you better believe her because she
Things don't
does.
change, 42 versus 2, it's all the same. I mean, you gotta.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know she does. She knows. She knows. So
Yeah.
I mean, I could call her right now, and if I'm saying stuff and I keep taking pauses, she's gonna be like, "What's wrong?" She's gonna ask me what's wrong. But
Yeah.
that's so that's great advice that you would give to new moms.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming on. We've reached the pinnacle of our time. So if they need to reach you, they can go to Carrie Hill. Oh, let me put it on the screen. That makes it even easier.
There
Here
you
we
go.
go. You can reach her at Curry Henson, aka Mom's Day Prepper, on Instagram or Facebook, Curry Mom's Day Prepper,
Yes.
or you can go to the actual website, www.momsdayprepper.com. So
And they
thank
can
you for definitely coming
list.
and sharing these moments that your moms.
Sorry, I forgot to add the podcast. Yes, they can also listen to the podcast and listen to other mom stories. And if anyone has a Mom's Day moment, they can reach out to me, and I'll get them in the recording studio. And um, I do want to say one thing, Rod. I know we're running on time, but you put in your little bio that your motto is "You never know what someone's going through," and I really want to commend you for that because you don't know what people are going
Never
through,
do.
and kindness goes a very long way.
Yeah, I mean, we started this 3, 4 years ago with this season 4. And it was just something just to do. But then as the seasons progressed and we got to 2, it was just like, let's just reach out to the community because you never know what anybody's going through. Somebody may be thinking something, and that our motto is, we have authentic people that tell authentic stories on here. So nobody's ever stepped on 89 of these shows, never lied to you, because this is what they've been through. And you
Yeah.
might have a friend that you might want to talk to about it, but they don't know how to go about it. So, you being a mom with 6 children and, having these mom day moment, other mothers may be listening, be like, okay, the 5 steps she gave me, let me deal with this. Let me try it her way.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
again, you can read all the books you want to. Ain't nothing gonna prepare you like when you actually in the battlefield.
Oh, amen. Amen. Yes. Yep.
You can read whatever you want, but training versus simulation and training is different versus the real war.
Yep. Absolutely. Yes, sir. Mhm.
Versus the real war, because again, you have they become different people. And
Yeah, I mean, things you can't unsee some things, It's like, wow.
right, knowing is half the battle.
Absolutely. Yes. You speaking my language, Rod.
Oh, that was GI Joe
Oh, was it?
from back in the 80s.
Well, I'm
That was
only
GI Joe
44,
because that's how the
so
show
we're
always went
I
off.
was
Is no one's
He-Man. You remember He-Man? Oh, man.
yes, I had by the power of Grayskull. I had the sword and
Heck
all that.
yeah!
And
I
everything.
loved it. I begged my parents for the Skull Mountain toy. I was like, "I want Skull Mountain," and they gave me,
Yeah,
like,
He-Man was
Barbie
my
house or
thing too.
something.
So that was one of my yeah. I had the sword. I had Battle Cat. I had the castle. I had a lot of that stuff. Wish I had it now because I would sell it because I know it's collector's items. But those were great days. They don't even make cartoons like that anymore.
No, they don't.
Let me put it up there. So there we go. Curry Henson, aka Mom's Day Prepper. Facebook Curry Mom's Day Prepper. www.momsdayprepper. And the podcast is Mom's Day Bunker.
Yes.
Well, it was one N. I'm sorry, I took the
With when
second,
it
but yeah, it's
yeah,
on
that was
all social media platforms.
yes, yes.
But thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming and exchanging your story for us. So, what is it? Oh, you was my pleasure. So, next week, same time, same channel. We're having the Golden Child. She says she's the Golden Child. She's been through some things and she survived a lot. So she says she's the Golden Child. So we'll be dealing that next Wednesday with Jaleesa, the Golden Child. So other than that, thank you for coming, Mom's Day Prepper, and I'll see you guys next week.